take a slow breath in. Let the air fill your chest. Now let it go. Soft and easy. Once more. A gentle breath in. A gentle breath out. The room around you begins to fade. The walls grow dim. The sounds of your own time grow quiet. You are slipping into a much older night. This night belongs to a world before cities, before roads, before any written word. You have stepped back into an age of ice, into a winter deep in the Paleolithic world. The first thing you feel is the cold. It sits on your skin like a thin layer of stone. It presses against your cheeks. It touches your nose and your ears. It creeps into your fingers and toes. Each breath you take is sharp and clear. The air tastes clean and hard. It feels as if it has passed over ice and rock for a very long time. Under your feet, the ground is frozen. It is packed earth and buried stone. When you shift your weight, you can feel small edges and ridges. The cold rises through the soles of your feet and into your legs. Above you is a huge night sky. There are no lampposts, no windows, no faraway glow of towns. There are only stars. They are scattered in thick groups. Some are bright and white. Some are softer, slightly blue or red. They look calm and still, like a quiet crowd far above you. Your breath leaves your mouth in small clouds. For a moment, each breath hangs in the air. Then it thins and disappears into the dark. The wind moves over the open plain. It is not a scream. It is not a roar. It is a steady, low flow of air. It passes your face and your hands. It finds the small gaps where your furs do not quite meet. It slides under the edges and touches your skin. You pull the animal skins closer around your shoulders. The fur is rough but familiar. It helps, but it is not enough. The cold is patient. It lingers in your arms. It rests in your chest. It waits along your spine. In every direction, the land stretches away. There are low hills, dusted with frost. There are clusters of dark trees. Their branches are bare and still. Most of the plain is open, flat, empty ground, hard grass, frozen soil. Far away, there may be animals moving through the dark, heavy shapes with thick coats of fur, long tusks, sharp teeth. But here, where you stand, you are alone with the wind, alone with the stars, alone with your own slow breath. You know this land. You have walked across it through the pale daylight. You have followed tracks in snow and hard mud. You have searched for roots, nuts, and any sign of meat. The sun did not help much today. It stayed low in the sky. Its light was weak and thin. It touched your face but did not sink in. Your bones stayed cold. Your shoulders stayed tight. Your jaw stayed clenched against the steady chill. Now the sun is gone. Night has taken the sky. The cold has grown deeper. It wraps around the hills and the trees and the plain. Inside your chest is a simple wish. You do not dream of gold. You do not dream of fame. You dream of warmth. You want the air around you to soften. You want the sting in your fingers to fade. You want a small place where the night feels less wide. You turn your head and look behind you. A wall of pale stone rises from the ground. Its surface is cracked and worn. It has stood here through many winters before this one. Near the base of the cliff, there is a dark opening, a low arch in the rock, a mouth that leads into shadow. This is your shelter. This is the cave where you and your people sleep, where you curl together under skins, where stone stands between you and the open plain. From the opening, you can smell old smoke. You can smell dry fur. You can smell the faint, deep scent of earth. Your people are inside. Some are already lying down. Some are sitting close together. Their bodies lean toward each other for warmth. They are tired. As you are tired, they are cold. As you are cold. You stand at the edge between the night and the cave. The stars at your back. The darkness of the hollow in front of you. Somewhere in this long winter, there is a way to push back the dark, to push back the cold. You do not hold it yet, but you feel the need for it in your bones. Soon, there will be fire. For now, there is the cold, the sky, the stone, and your quiet, steady hope for warmth. Inside the cave, the air is still cold, but it feels softer than the open plain. The stone walls block most of the wind. They hold it outside, along the face of the cliff. Only a thin draft slips in through the entrance. Shapes gather in the dim light. Your people sit close to one another. Furs are wrapped tight around shoulders and arms. Knees are pulled in. Hands hide inside sleeves and folds of skin. Faces are quiet. Eyes watch the center of the cave. All attention rests on one person. The elder kneels near the entrance. His back is a little bent. His shoulders are strong but lined with years. Strands of gray show in his hair. His hands are rough and scarred from stone and wood. In front of him lies a small bundle. It is a simple nest on the floor of the cave. Dry grass, thin strips of bark, soft moss, All of it has been gathered and saved with care. Every piece has a purpose. It must catch a tiny spark. It must hold that spark long enough to grow. Beside the nest rests a flat stone. On that stone lie two other stones. One is dark and sharp, a piece of flint, shaped by many careful strikes. It fits well in the elder's hand. The other is lighter and rougher. Its surface is pitted and uneven. It gives up bright fragments when it is struck. The elder studies these things in silence. He knows the cold. He knows this long winter. He also knows a hidden path to warmth. Around him, your people wait. No one speaks. No one moves very much. Even the children are still. Hunger is here. Tiredness is here. But something else is here too. Hope. Not for a great change in the world. Not for the end of winter. Hope for a small circle of light. Hope for a place where faces feel warm. The elder lifts the flint. His fingers wrap around it in a steady grip. In his other hand, he takes the rough stone. For a short moment, nothing happens. You can hear breathing. You can hear the faint whisper of wind at the cave mouth. You can hear your own heart beating slow and heavy in your chest. Then the elder moves his hands. He brings the stones together in a firm, practiced strike. Hard surface meets hard surface. For less than the length of a blink, there is a thread of light. A tiny star jumps from stone to stone. It hangs in the air and then is gone. It does not yet touch the nest. It does not yet bring warmth. The elder does not hurry. He shifts the angle of his hands. Again he brings the stones together. Another bright speck leaps into the air. This one falls closer to the dry grass. It glows, then fades against the dark floor. The cave seems to lean forward. Everyone is watching. Everyone is waiting. Strike. A fine spray of stone. A brief, sharp point of light. Strike. Another. And another. Some sparks vanish before they fall. Some land on the grass and die at once. The elder does not frown. He does not sigh. His breath stays even. His hands stay steady. He has done this before, many times. At last, one spark lands in just the right place. It falls into the hollow of the nest. It catches on a thin curl of bark. The tiny point of light holds. It does not vanish at once. Slowly, the edge of the bark begins to glow. A faint orange line crawls along it. The dry grass near it darkens and curls. A thin thread of smoke rises into the cold air. It twists and bends like a ghost of breath. The elder bends close. He shields the nest with his hands. He brings his face near the small glow. His lips part. Warm air leaves his chest and moves over the ember. Not a strong burst. Just a soft, careful breath. The glow brightens. More grass begins to smolder. The smoke grows thicker, still calm and slow. He breathes again. Gentle. Patient. The ember swells and lifts. It becomes a small flame. It is no bigger than a finger. It trembles. For a moment, it almost sinks. Then it finds more dry grass. The flame leans into the nest. More edges catch. More pieces of bark begin to burn. Light flickers on the elder's face. His features soften in the warm color. Lines of age become lines of quiet strength. The darkness in the cave begins to move. Shadows pull back from the center of the floor. The stone near the fire glows in soft gold. Eyes around the circle shine with tiny reflections. The elder adds thin twigs. He lays them down with care. Not too many. Not too few. They darken at the edges. Then they glow. Then they join the small fire. The flame is no longer alone. It spreads into several small tongues of light. They move and bow and rise together. They make a quiet, steady dance in the middle of the cave. The cold is still here. It clings to the stone. It waits at the entrance. Outside, the plain is still wide and hard. The stars are still far and bright. But in this circle, something has changed. The air near the fire feels different on your skin. The tightness in your shoulders eases a little. Your jaw relaxes, just enough to notice. You and your people have called down a small piece of the sun. Not in the sky, but here, on the floor of a dark cave. The first fire of the night is alive. Time passes. The fire grows a little stronger. The small flames become a low, steady bed of light. They move over the wood in slow, careful waves. You add a thicker branch. The elder nods once in quiet approval. The branch rests on the glowing coals. Its bark darkens and splits. Heat begins to seep into its center. Inside the cave, the light reaches farther. It touches more of the stone walls. It paints them in soft gold and deep shadow. Shapes in the rock start to appear. You notice old marks, scratches, smudges of color, faint lines from hands that once pressed against this same wall. The faces of your people look different now. there is still tiredness. There is still the long weight of winter. But the tightness around their eyes has eased. Their shoulders are a little lower. Their hands are no longer clenched quite so hard. Outside, the night shifts. At first, it is only a change in the sound of the wind. It grows louder, more restless. It moves in sudden pushes instead of a steady flow. You hear it rush along the stone outside. You hear it sweep across the open plain. Then, from the dark beyond the entrance, another sound arrives. It begins as a soft tapping on the rock above. A light touch, here and there, like fingers on a drum. Soon the tapping grows stronger. It becomes a steady drumming on the cliff and on the ground. Rain. Cold drops fall from the sky. They strike the stone and the hard earth. They gather in small channels that run down along the face of the cliff. You can hear water hitting rock in many different notes, high and low, fast and slow. The storm has come. The air at the cave mouth grows colder. A thin mist creeps in near the ground. The smell of wet stone and wet earth drifts inside. But the fire is between you and the entrance. Its warmth pushes back at the breath of the storm. Its light draws your gaze away from the dark. The elder looks at the people gathered around. He makes a small motion with his hand. It is time to settle in. One by one, they move a little closer to the fire. They find places on the floor of the cave. Some lean their backs against the wall. Some sit cross-legged, hands stretched out toward the warmth. Bundles are opened. From leather pouches and woven carriers come the food you have gathered. Pieces of dried meat, roots and bulbs dug from the cold earth, hard, wrinkled berries saved from a better season. Nothing is wasted. You take a flat stone and place it near the fire. The surface begins to warm. On it, someone sets thin strips of meat. They darken and curl at the edges. Fat melts and runs in small lines. The smell reaches you. Rich, savory, deep and full. It wraps around the smoke and the scent of the wet night outside. Together, they make the cave smell like life and survival. You pass a piece of the warm meat to the person beside you. They nod in thanks. They pass another piece on. Hands move in a quiet circle. No one takes more than they should. Everyone takes enough to soften the ache in their belly. You bite into your share. The surface is a little crisp. Inside, it is warm and tender. Heat spreads from your mouth down into your chest. Your stomach, empty for too long, begins to relax. You taste the work of the day. The long walk. The watchful eyes, the careful strike of a spear or stone. You taste the gift of the land, and the gift of the fire that has made this food safe and soft. Outside, the storm grows heavier. Rain hits the stone in thick sheets. You can hear it, loud and constant. Now and then, a gust of wind pushes the sound even deeper into the cave. It makes the storm seem big and wild, but none of it touches you. The rock above your head does not move. The walls around you do not shake. You are under the earth's hard skin, wrapped in fur and shadow and warm, moving light. Children lean against their parents. Heads rest on shoulders. Soft voices murmur low and brief. A small laugh breaks the silence for a moment. It does not disturb the calm. It folds into it. Someone adds another piece of wood to the fire. Sparks rise and vanish. New flames lick along the fresh fuel. The light grows a little stronger again. It paints the stone ceiling in gentle waves. It makes the wet air near the entrance shine faintly before it fades into the dark. Your hands are warmer now. So are your feet. The cold is not gone. You can still feel it if you move away from the fire. But near this bright center, it has lost its power. Your body begins to believe you are safe for tonight. Your breath slows. Your chest rises and falls in a steady rhythm. You draw your fur a little closer, more out of habit than need. Its rough edge scratches your chin. You are grateful for its weight. The land outside is wild and open. The storm is strong and uncaring. But inside this cave, there is another world. A small one, made of stone and light and shared warmth. Here there is food. Here there is shelter. Here there is the sound of your people nearby. You are not alone in the cold. You are part of a small circle of life, huddled around a fragile sun that you called into being with stone and breath and patience. The storm may last for many hours. It may wash over the hills and plains until the ground is thick with water and ice. But you will stay dry. You will stay warm. For this one night, in this one place, the world has become kind. Slowly, the cave grows quieter. Bellies are no longer empty. Bodies are no longer shaking from the cold. One by one, your people settle down. Some lie on their sides, close to the fire. Some curl against the wall, backs pressed to stone. Some pull furs up over their heads, leaving only noses and a few strands of hair showing. Soft sounds fill the space. A faint sigh. A small rustle of skins. The slow, steady rhythm of many breaths, all rising and falling together. The storm still works on the world outside. Rain continues to fall on the rock above. It runs in small rivers down the face of the cliff. It hits the ground in a deep, steady pattern. Now and then the wind pushes harder. You can hear it move past the entrance, heavy and full. But inside the cave, the sound has changed. It no longer feels sharp. It no longer feels like a threat. It has become part of the background, a distant drum, a dark sea beating gently at the edges of your small island of light. The elder looks around the circle. His gaze moves from face to face. He catches your eyes and holds them for a moment. There is a question there. There is also trust. You nod, just once. You will stay awake. You will keep watch. Not only over the entrance, not only over the storm, but over the fire itself. The elder gives a small, tired smile. Then he, too, lowers himself to the ground. Soon he is lying on his side like the others, one arm tucked under his head. His breath joins the slow tide of the group. Now you are alone with the flames. You shift a little closer to the fire. Not too close. Just near enough to feel the full strength of its warmth. Your legs stretch out. Your hands rest loosely on your knees. You look at the heart of the fire. The tallest flames have passed. The wood has burned down into a bed of embers. They glow in many shades of red and orange. Some are deep and dark, like blood under the skin. Some are bright and hot, almost white at their center. They pulse. They breathe. Light moves through them in slow waves. It flares in one place, fades in another. It slides along the charred wood like water. If you soften your eyes, the glowing shapes begin to blur. They become small hills and valleys. They become rivers of light flowing through a dark land. They become whatever your quiet mind wants to see. You find yourself breathing in time with them. As the embers brighten, you breathe in. As they fade a little, you breathe out. In and out. Slow. Gentle. Your shoulders sink. Your hands grow heavier on your knees. From time to time, a thin piece of wood shifts. Ash falls inward. A small spark lifts and then disappears into the air. You reach for another branch. Not too big. Not too small. You place it carefully on top of the embers. For a moment it just rests there, dark and silent. Then its edges begin to change. Thin lines of orange creep along its bark. The glow spreads inward. Soon, new tongues of flame rise, calm and steady. They do not leap high. They do not roar. They simply add a fresh layer of light and warmth to the hollow in front of you. Behind you, someone shifts in their sleep. A foot nudges against another foot. A hand slips out from under a fur, then tucks back in. No one wakes. The fire holds the space. The stone holds the sound. The night outside moves on without you. After a while, you turn your head toward the mouth of the cave. From where you sit, you can see a slice of the sky. The storm clouds have thinned. Between them, patches of clear night have opened. Stars shine through. Without smoke and lights from cities, the sky is rich and full. The band of the Great Star River arches overhead. It looks like dust made of light. It spills across the dark in a long, gentle curve. You rest your eyes on it. You think of how long it has been there. How many winters it has looked down on lands like this. On fires like this. On people like you. The thought does not make you feel small. It makes your worries feel small. The long day of walking, the search for food, the cold that pressed on your bones, all of it becomes part of something much larger and much calmer. You are one small person in one small cave, in one long line of nights. You are not meant to carry the whole sky. You are only meant to sit here, now, and keep this one fire alive. A gentle sound reaches you from deeper in the cave. Not the sound of sleep, not the sound of the storm. A slow, careful tap. Stone against stone. You glance back over your shoulder. Near the rear wall, a figure sits apart from the others. They are awake, like you. In their hands, they hold a piece of flint. On their lap rests another stone. They tilt the flint. They bring it down in a small, controlled strike. Tap. A tiny flake of stone falls away. They turn the piece. Tap. Another flake drops onto the pile at their feet. They are shaping a tool. Maybe a new point for a spear. Maybe a sharp edge for cutting. But they are in no hurry. The work is slow, careful, rhythmic. The sound of tapping folds into the room like a heartbeat. Tap. Pause. Tap. Pause. Between each strike, there is silence. In that silence, you hear the breathing of your people. You hear the low murmur of the storm. You hear the soft crackle of the embers. The pattern repeats. Tap. A small flake falls. You watch it land in the faint light. You watch it join the little hill of other flakes. Then the next pause. Then the next tap. Your mind begins to drift with the rhythm. Tap, You breathe in, pause. You breathe out. Your thoughts grow slower. They begin to untangle. The worries of the day loosen their hold. They slip away into the shadows between the rocks. You are not thinking about tomorrow. You are not thinking about yesterday. You are simply here. With the embers, with the soft tapping, with the slow, soft breath of many sleeping people. You add one more small branch to the fire. You watch it catch. You listen. Tap. Pause. Tap. The cave is dark at the edges, but the darkness is gentle now. It feels like a blanket drawn around the group. Outside, the sky turns slowly above the storm. Inside, time seems to thicken and rest. Your eyes grow heavy. Your head tilts forward for a moment, then lifts again. You are still the night watch, but the night itself has become kind. The night grows deeper. The rhythm of tapping from the toolmaker slows. Then it stops. They set the flint aside. They curl their body near the others. Soon their breathing joins the quiet tide of sleep. You look back to the fire. The flames are smaller now. They move like slow hands smoothing a blanket over the wood. The larger branches have burned down. In their place is a wide bed of coals. They glow softly, red and orange, dark at the edges, bright at the center. The light is gentle on your eyes. It no longer pushes hard against the shadows. It simply rests in the middle of the cave. Calm, steady. You feel the same calm spreading through your own body. Your hands are very warm. Your feet no longer ache with cold. The weight of your fur on your shoulders feels heavier now. But it is a good weight. A safe weight. Outside, the storm begins to ease. The rain is not so strong. The wind is not so sharp. The sound fades to a soft murmur on the stone, like distant waves on a shore you cannot see. You listen for a while. The storm, the breathing, the soft, slow crackle of the fading fire. Everything in the cave is moving at the same slow pace. You feel a pull inside your chest, a gentle invitation. Rest. You look once more toward the slice of sky at the cave mouth. Clouds drift past the stars. The great star river still shines beyond them. It has watched over many nights like this. It will watch over many nights after this one. You do not need to stay awake for the sky. You only need to keep this moment. You add one last small piece of wood to the coals. It catches at the edges. A thin line of flame moves along its side. You watch until you are sure it will last. Just long enough. Then you ease your body down onto the floor of the cave. The stone is hard, but you know its shape. The fur between you and the ground is soft in the right places. You turn onto your side, your back to the wall, your face toward the fire. Warmth brushes your cheeks. Your hands fold close to your chest. You let your eyes fall half closed. The embers blur into a gentle glow. They become one soft shape of light. Your breath slows. In. Out. Like the tide of air in the cave. Like the rise and fall of the sleeping bodies around you. You let your thoughts grow dim. The long walk. The cold wind, the hunger, all of it has been answered for tonight. You have shelter. You have food. You have fire. You have your people close. There is nothing more you must do. Nothing more you must fix. Nothing more you must hold. You allow your eyelids to grow heavy. If they want to close, you let them close. If they want to drift, you let them drift. Your body knows what to do. It knows how to sink into rest. You do not need to guide it. You only need to allow it. The last shapes of the embers fade behind your eyes. They become a soft red warmth inside your mind. The storm outside has become a faraway whisper. The cave is a deep, quiet nest in the middle of the ancient night. You are safe here. You are warm here. You are held here. Let your breath fall into the same slow rhythm as the sleepers around you. Let the night carry you. Down and down into deep, easy sleep. Good night.